Hi, and welcome to this special live from the Bledlow Coffee-Time Concerts page. I'm here with Anna Siders Dupuy, who is one of our artists this weekend in our Coffee-Time concert on Saturday, the 27th. Saturday the 27th. And we're really looking forward to hearing from her and her partner, Beatrice Siders Dupuy, as they will be performing. And Anna, tell us a little bit about you and about the program we're going to be hearing.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Jeff. It's really lovely to be able to come in and give a little introduction to the program we're going to do on Saturday. So first of all, I think I have to say it's the first concert I've ever done with my wife, with just the two of us. So we were really excited about that kind of possibility. We've done little opera duets here and there, and contracts where we've been in big companies together, but it's the first time that we're doing a concert just the two of us. So we're really excited about that. And we'll be accompanied by a wonderful pianist, Chad Vinden. So hopefully you're in for a treat. We were kind of thinking about some song repertoire that it's so lovely to be asked to do a recital where you're really free to choose whatever repertoire you want to do. So we were thinking about something that we could do around summer, and Beatrice has always been a real devotee of Wagner and his kind of vocal music. So what we've done is kind of designed a program around the Wesendonck-Lieder because they were written on the 30th of July, very close to our concert on the 27th. So we thought, well, we'd take that as our inspiration and kind of build a program around that. So it's going to be largely German Lieder, and we'll have the Wesendonck mixed with some Strauss that we kind of feel like sort of enhances the story of the Wesendonck-Lieder and builds a nice program for you. And then we might have one or two well-known tunes at the end if people would like to hear more. So that's that's what we're looking forward to performing for you on Saturday.
What is the story of the Wesendonck-Lieder?
Well, I mean, it's kind of all encompassing. I mean, it's very, if you think about Wagner and his Gesamtkunstwerk, that kind of idea of encompassing art being all encompassing, it feels a little bit like that. In fact, it's the only work where he didn't write the poetry. So it's really interesting that he was inspired by someone else's texts to produce this cycle. And it feels very broad. We start with the angel and we finish with dreams, and we visit a greenhouse, I think, in between, if I'm remembering right on my translations. So it's quite broad in its scope, and we've kind of used Strauss to just highlight a little bit more of the kind of messages in these songs, and we'll finish with my favorite Strauss, Morgen, which means tomorrow, and that kind of, I don't know, to me highlights this idea of dreams and there being a better tomorrow. So
yeah,
kind of
I love the text of Morgan particularly because it's John Henry Mackay, isn't it, or Mackay?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's talking about how tomorrow we'll be able to hold hands on the beach and look at each other. And when you think that he was writing that in a Berlin society that he was gay and it was completely unacceptable, that it just adds a completely different feeling to what is on any level a totally beautiful song. I think it's an absolutely amazing piece.
Exactly, and I kind of, when Beatrice and I, it being the first piece the first concert that we've ever done together, we felt really strongly that Morgan had to be in there somewhere because exactly for that reason. When you think of all the people that have gone before us that really were brave enough to speak up for this ambition or this desire or this need for a better world where they could be themselves, and not just wishing it for themselves, but for anybody who felt different or didn't follow that kind of societal norm. It feels like a real privilege, actually, to be able to put that into a program. I'm so sorry, you can hear my cat in the background. From the supply to the meowing. It did feel like a real privilege to be able to put that in the program.
Yeah, oh, lovely. And I mean, this is going to be your first time in Bledlow. I've been really surprised by the Coffee Time concerts because, apart from the fact they've got quite a big following, but we had one a few a few months ago where Adrian Thompson came in and did Nuit d'été and Dichte Liebe, and I thought, is that going to be a bit heavy for a Saturday morning in Bledlow? And actually, I think what's lovely with that and so many other pieces is people are coming along to this thing. They know they're only going to be stuck there for 3/4 of an hour. That's the worst that can happen. And actually, they're discovering that actually these pieces aren't anywhere near as inaccessible as you might think if you just saw them written down on a board somewhere. And sung expressively or played expressively, they actually mean something to people on lots of different levels.
I mean, I think that's also the real privilege of coming to do a concert for Bledlow, and that kind of idea of being open to perform, kind of being given a really broad scope about being able to explore the repertoire that we as artists want to explore, but also then the onus is on us to open that up to people, right? That's the joy of the job, I think. And I've kind of worked in different settings in the past where you bring this kind of music that for me is totally iconic, but actually, why should it be that to anybody else? And why is it iconic? And why is it so beautiful? Why does it speak to me? And it's such a pleasure to be able to kind of examine that a little bit more and to be able to share that with people in a way that you hope resonates with them as well. There's so much competition now. Do you know what I mean? About you could watch 17,000 movies on Amazon Prime of a Saturday morning if you want. So really, if we're going to take people, if people are generally going to give us their time, then it's really a real pleasure to kind of examine why they should do that and why is this music so special and why do we want to share that? So really excited.
Fantastic. So it's been I mean, I was lucky enough to work with you in the Traviata for Oxford Opera last year. Just tell us a bit about what you've been doing for the last year and in terms of your operatic output and what sort of things you've been singing.
So it's been a really exciting year, actually. I still think we're all of us as artists slightly reeling from the COVID pandemic and figuring out what life is like after COVID. So as you said, it was a real kind of dream come true to do Violetta in Traviata. It's a piece that my teacher and mentor in the States, Mary Dunleavy, had done a lot. So I'd actually watched her rehearse it at the Met when I went to visit once in years ago. So it was a piece that I really kind of hold very close to my heart, and it was one of those moments of going, do I dare kind of take this on? And it was such a joy to be able to do that and perform that with you. And then since then it's been I've been recently doing a production of Tosca, which has been really interesting because it's a company called Prologue Opera, which take a slightly different angle on opera. They want to again make the piece more accessible and explore these iconic characters and figure out or kind of explore what their backstory might be. How did Floria Tosca become the diva that she is and fall in love with Cavaradossi, and how did Scarpia start his kind of dark journey to being chief of police? And so we have this show which begins with some new music by a composer called Frank Moon, and it's really interesting because he's been clearly really inspired by Puccini, but also there's flavors of Sondheim in there as well. It's called the first piece is called I Remember Sundays, and it makes me think of Sunday in the Park with George. So it's really lovely to kind of have that variety in a piece. And then we go through to the opera, and we've done an abridged version of Puccini's piece with dialogue in between to kind of catch us up along the way for the music that we miss. So it's been really wonderful in a year to be able to take on Violetta and Tosca. That's been a real joy.
That's quite huge.
I mean, who would have thought? You think like pinch me, I feel very lucky. And then in between, I've been involved with this really interesting project based on the poet Verlaine. And that is a piece that's been written by Eleanor Burke, who's the young artist director at Covent Garden, and Logan Gonzalez Lopez, who is a countertenor. And in that piece, actually, I'm not singing, I'm acting. And that's been a really wonderful exploration. I'm acting in French, believe it or not.
Right.
The pronunciation, but we kind of explore Verlaine's life, and so Logan, our countertenor, plays Verlaine throughout, and I start the piece reading the testimony of Rimbaud, his lover, who prosecuted him for shooting him in the hand, and then we go back in time and I play Mathilde, his wife, for a little bit, and then I read some of his poetry kind of as his muse. And Verlaine had this kind of extraordinary life story between being married to a woman, being in love with a man, then he gets put in prison for that crime, and perhaps for a longer period of time than would otherwise have been the norm because of the homosexuality. And then he kind of finds God while he's in prison and converts to Catholicism, and finishes his life kind of with faith. So it's a fascinating story, and it's lovely to be kind of acting and not singing, and just to explore what that kind of journey on stage can be. So it's been a good year.
That sounds so exciting. One of the things that I find most appealing about you as an artist is that you are absolutely capable of being an actress in your own right without the singing. And for me, when I was watching you do the Traviata, I found that the idea that you know, I know this sounds absolutely awful, but the Traviata is something that for some reason never really moved me, because there was something in most of the productions I've seen or been in where I didn't really believe what was going on, and yet I felt from the first rehearsal of the one that we were doing, oh God, I actually do believe, I do care that you're going to die. And I think that's so important in today's music. I think, you know, the work I do with choirs, I try and get people to understand that there's more to it than making a nice sound and getting the notes in the right place and in tune. And I think one of the things that makes you fantastic as an artist is that you really bring that life to things. And I'm so excited about seeing you in this. But can you tell us a little about Beatrice, who sadly couldn't be with us, and Chad?
Of course, Beatrice is really sad. Firstly, thank you for those beautiful words. That really means the world. I think that is why we do what we do. I remember I was at Guildhall to do their opera program, and we have a wonderful acting teacher called Martin Lloyd Evans, and he always said to us, if you're going to waste people's time, if you're going to ask people to give of their time, you better tell them a story. You better really take them on this journey with you, and tell them a story. So that means the world, Jeff. Thank you. Beatrice is a wonderful mezzo. She has had a very different path to me. She actually started in, she's from France. She grew up in Marseille for the kind of when she was a teenager, and then studied in Aix-en-Provence. And after that, and she actually started working really kind of straight out of school, and has had quite an extraordinary sort of continuous career for the last 25 years. So she's done a lot of chorus work with lots of different companies in France. She started in the Opéra de Marseille, and then through many different twists and turns, she worked at the Bastille in Paris for a long time, and then at Opéra de Lyon. And she has this kind of extraordinary instrument that seems to know no end. Her top notes are often better than mine. Not that I'm resentful of that or anything.
Don't you hate that?
Right? It's that formidable technique that takes you up and down and all around along the way.
Yeah.
So she really loves. She's excited to present the Wiesendock-Lieder because she has that kind of scope, a broader instrument than mine, and really loves exploring that kind of bigger repertoire, let's say. I saw her in a fantastic production of Tannhäuser at Opéra de Lyon, and you can really tell it was sort of based, the production was sort of had Star Wars influences, so it was bringing two of her very favorite worlds together. So it was a great production. Chad I met when I was at the Academy, and Chad is a wonderful pianist and vocal coach, and he's from Australia, and he has this very he kind of has this very kind of deep kind of feeling. He's so passionate about what he does, which is always so wonderful. He will always bring new detail, new thought that hadn't struck me about the music that we're working on together. So he's a real joy to be able to work with.
Fantastic. It continues our very international feeling with the Bledlow Coffee-Time concerts, because in May we had a Chinese pianist who was playing all over the world. And last month we had 3 Italian violinists.
Amazing.
And it was really quite something. So we're continuing that theme. Anna, it's wonderful to talk to you. Great to have you on. Thank you so much for doing this. And we look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thank you.
Take care.
We can't wait to join you.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.